Hello everybody, it's Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and it's time for episode 114 of my question and answer series. So starting with Freddie Malpartita, what are your thoughts on the Nexus 6? I think it's a fine smartphone. It has good hardware, it looks nice visually, and it runs stock Android, which is a pretty strong selling point of that particular smartphone. Now I do think that the price is a bit high for what it is. I mean, it's not a Galaxy S6 or an iPhone or a HTC One M9, for example. But it's still a very good phone. Should you decide to get it, I think you would be happy with it. I guess the weakest point of the Nexus 6 might be its camera. Otherwise, it should be a pretty good smartphone. And my second question is, do you think 16 gigs on an iPhone is enough storage? I think it is. You just have to be very efficient about how you store content on your device. So I switched from iTunes Music to Spotify, which freed up about 4.5 gigs. So I typically have about 5.5, almost 6 gigs free. I don't have that many games installed, but the ones that I do have installed are pretty light. So all of that really does help give you a lot of extra space should you ever need it. If you want to try out this big game that came out or you want to record some video, you should have plenty of space left over. From the Ultimate Tech channel, your videos are not getting to my sub box. I don't think there's anything I can do. I am subscribed to this channel from one of my other channels, and the videos always do show up, so I have no idea how to check that out. From Chris Grondin, great question. What are your thoughts on YouTubers that continue making videos but basically no one cares about them? In all seriousness, it's not always about if people care about you. I mean, people can still do what they want if they enjoy doing it. So in my case, that's exactly what's happening. I've always enjoyed creating videos, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. The next question comes from Stuff with Ben. You might have already gotten this question, but what do you think of Windows 10 so far? I haven't used the Windows 10 technical preview too much, but what I have seen I really do like. I like how the UI has changed. They're not drastic UI changes, but enough to sort of make the jump between Windows 8 and Windows 10 seem more drastic than it really is. But for example, the border around the windows are much skinnier than before. We have new icons for folders and things like that. But I think that they have done a good job to sort of combine touch-friendly apps to a more desktop user-friendly interface. So you're able to now run those modern UI applications in a window so that they're more appealing to mouse and keyboard users. Hopefully I can use Windows 10 more soon, and what I've seen so far from Windows 10, everything just seems to look quite good. So when Windows 10 does come out later this year, I really don't see any reason for people using Windows 7, Vista, or Windows 8 to not upgrade to Windows 10. Next up comes from David McBeng. I probably pronounced that name wrong, but anyway, you are so lucky. I've had power supplies blow fire out the back and then snap and crackle along with the smoke. Hope everything works out. I've been working on PCs since 1976 and they've come a long way. Thanks for the vids. The power supply that I was talking about last week, it just never came back to life after it started smoking, which I guess was to be expected, because I guess once you see smoke coming out of a power supply, that means game over. The company that provided the power supply didn't want to send a new one, so obviously they're going to get negative press about this anyway. And then also there's actually an issue with the SSD where it doesn't show up in the motherboard's BIOS or anywhere else for that matter until you power everything on, unplug the SSD, and then plug it back in, which is really odd. And we'll just have to see if that particular company is able to send a replacement. Otherwise, that's just going to have to be another part that I replace myself, because for the power supply last week, I went out to my local Tiger Direct store and bought a 550 watt power supply myself, as opposed to using a sponsored part, because I was never able to get any responses from any other power supply vendor except for Vision Tech, who supplied the power supply that blew out smoke. Lastly, it comes from SXC Kryptonite. How long have you been doing YouTube/tech blogs? I've been watching your videos since Gumball Tech, and that's pretty much when I started all of this. I believe it was October 2009 where I basically told myself that instead of watching videos from other people or reading blogs from other people, I can just do this stuff myself on my own terms and see if anybody wants to come by and take a look at what I've been making. And apparently people have been looking at my stuff, so I'm going to keep doing this even if they don't come back. So that's just it. That was it with episode 114 of my question and answer series. Tune in next week for episode 115. If you have any questions that you would like me to try and answer, leave those down below in the comments area. And I'm still not sure when the next video is going to be. I was going to start putting out the build videos over the past week, but unfortunately, due to hardware issues, everything has been sort of put on hold until I get updated parts and things like that to finish that build series. And then aside from that, there's not really a whole lot to make videos about anyway, at least at this time. So that's it with the video, and I'll talk to you guys later.